Hey you guys, let's talk about travel to Colombia and the top 10 things to do in cities like Bogota, Medellin, and Cartagena, which is where I am now, in case you're wondering where in the world is Katrina Julia. Side note, I got my hair braided at Cholon, one of the Rosario Islands, yesterday in nearby Cartagena. Absolutely amazing. Highly recommend it for the ladies. So, travel to Colombia in 2022 may look different than it did in prior years. Just a heads up on what it's like now. US citizens do not need a visa. You can travel on your typical 90-day tourist visa. And now, due to COVID, you do need to fill out a MIG form online through their online system, which you can find at the Colombia Embassy website, and or travel to Colombia via the US Embassy information and travel information as well. And I'll include it in the link in the show notes. And along those lines, you do need to fill out a MIG form when you come into the country and when you exit the country to another international destination. So for example, within Colombia, when I flew from Bogota to Medellin and then from Medellin to Cartagena, I did not need to fill out another MIG form. But when I traveled to Bogota from Mexico City, I needed to fill out a form. And then when I leave on Sunday, I need to complete a form online because I'm headed to Panama next. Then also, you guys, as far as COVID is concerned, if you have your vaccine, then you simply show your vaccine card. You do not need to have currently an additional COVID test. But of course, if you are returning to the United States, then you do need to have a test and check current regulations for what is required for vaccinated versus non-vaccinated travelers. So let's move on to incredible and exciting things on what you're gonna see on the behind the scenes with first the top 10 things to do in Bogota, which is where I started my travels here in Colombia. Bogota, if you didn't know, is the capital of Colombia. It sits at over 3,000 meters in elevation, and so one of its highest points is Monserrate Hill, which you definitely want to visit, whether you hike up, whether you take a metro cable, whether you do the funicular. And you guys, something to note, Bogota is a lot chillier than a lot of different places of Colombia, or what you might anticipate. For example, there's no way I would have been wearing this, for the most part, in Bogota unless I had long johns on underneath and a jacket, because especially in the mornings and in the evenings, it gets super cold. I was sleeping under 3 different blankets, 2 comforters, and I was still cold and had a space heater, okay? Besides Monserrate, you definitely want to add into some of your top 10 things to do in Bogota, things like a walking tour, a food tour, a visit to Usaquén Market, as well as Palo Quemado Market, as well as the botanical gardens nearby. That's some of the top 10 things to do in Bogota. Now let's take a peek at the behind the scenes directly for more.
So here's one of the adorable Airbnbs that I stayed at in Envigado in Medellin. It was perfect for co-working and exploring. One of my favorite experiences was Comuna 13 and seeing how the area had transformed with one of my experiences and tours.
Cartagena, Colombia. You guys, Colombia has been on my list for so long. I had a really, really good friend named Lorena growing up in middle school, and we used to go to her house all the time after school, and her mom didn't even speak English, so I definitely had to practice my Spanish, and she would make us beans and plantains. So I was introduced to the warmth of the Colombian culture at a very young age, as well as the history, because I would hear things from their family and all kinds of things, firsthand from a Colombian family with 3 children. And Cartagena came on my radar back in 2010 when I moved to Atlanta, and one of the sales VPs in the company told me how he had gone to Cartagena and he was showing me pictures of this incredibly beautiful city that he just had to go to this sales conference. So ever since then, Cartagena has been on my mind, and I am so happy I came to this beautiful, vibrant, colonial, cultural city that boasts not only incredible, just an incredible spirit of resilience, of culture, of colonialism, of architecture, but also, you guys, just beautiful environments. This is the city that I have felt the safest in Colombia. And not only that, but nearby and incredible waters, you guys. Yesterday I visited Rosario Islands. There's 27 islands. I visited 5 of them. And that's not the only thing on the list of top 10 things to do here in Cartagena. So definitely on top 10 things to do in Cartagena is just wander. Whether you take a walking tour, whether you create your own itinerary. Beyond that, you guys, you definitely want to do a photo walking experience. I did that with Airbnb, and you're going to see some behind the scenes of that as well. In addition to the photo walk experience, you definitely want to take a Rosario Island VIP tour, and I'll have more information on that, you guys. We snorkeled, I practiced free diving, we had an incredible lunch, we had a new type of ceviche that I'd never tried in Cholon, the party island. So you get a taste of a couple of different islands. Then we also ended up experiencing Medusa Island, Barú Island, and much more. So let's get into some of the top 10 things to do and the behind the scenes in Cartagena, Colombia.
Cartagena is filled with beautiful colonial architecture and rooftops like Moviche, where you can see these incredible views from the rooftop. Not only that, but you'll find so much history and culture and art in places like Gethsemane, as well as in places like San Felipe Castle, and more incredible sunsets like this one. In my top 10 things to do is also Rosario Islands. You definitely want to take a day trip to see Rosario and at least 5 of the islands like I did.